The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. That's something that these two Scorpionic placements, both representing October and November, are starting to fully understand. Greetings, guys. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Monette, and this is my channel, Evolve with Monette. For those of you that are new here, I am a professional intuitive empath. So good to have you joining me today. Thank you for inviting me in. Come on in. Interested in working with me, please check the description box below. You can find my website and any information that you need to know. Anything I channeled during this message as well today will be down there for you to see. Check with your angels first before you reach out to me. Make sure it's good in your soul. And then let's see what magic we can cook up together happily. All right, y'all. Let's get into this. The angels have a message. And they took me down a couple of twists and turns. And I'm going to do the best that I can do so that I can get this message to you today. It's about Diddy and Drake. Okay. Diddy and Drake. We have two Scorpios. Diddy, born November 4th, Drake born on October 24th. These two have been teaching a masterclass. I really believe that celebrity volunteers, we each volunteer for a lesson here, and I really believe that celebrity volunteers for us to learn from. So on my channel, sometimes I take a look at some of those themes that are happening, because you may notice that it might be playing out in your life to a certain degree. We just left 2024. This is 2025 if you're watching this today. And we went through a year where karma had so much to say. Aquarian energy was at play, and it was a year of receipts. Started out by one Mr. Prophet, Cat Williams, who ushered in 2024 and said everyone essentially was going to have to be held account. Everyone was not getting a pass in this year, and we saw things unfold at the most rapid pace. Two people in particular took my attention, though, because allegedly, they both have been bad for the human race, yet they have gifted so much of their energy. A song that will be for Drake's portion specifically. They've gifted so much of their energy, and they said, and they're saying, okay, when I say they said, I'm talking to my angels, that there now is a level of accountability. So we're going to talk about that. The way that my angels gave this to me was via two songs. One is The Angels' Dirty Money, and the other one is Energy by Drake. I got enemies, got a lot of enemies, got a lot of people trying to drain me of this energy, trying to take away from trying to get my whatever back and take it from me, whatever. Listen, both of these songs they channeled to me have to do with what's going on between Drake and Diddy. And what is the cause of a Drake and Diddy? What we're going to be dealing with is 8th house Scorpionic energy, as is both of their sun sign synastry. And so to understand Scorpionic energy is to understand the highs and lows. But what was shown to us in the Aquarian year of receipts is how low Scorpionic energy could go. And as low as it could go was both Drake and Diddy. We saw Drake be embroiled in a battle that had to do with one Kung Fu Kenny, who did his thug sizzle, didn't he? Can I bleed and bet? We've not seen anything like it since, and maybe never again. It was apocalyptic in the world of hip-hop, but what it did was bring to the forefront some of the flaws, specifically that plague Mr. Aubrey Graham. The other thing we saw was a God's plan, and the song that I channeled for Diddy is The Angels by him and Biggie. Oh, this is so rich and it's so good, guys. I love the spiritual detective side when I get to do a deep dive. It's like true crime mixed with like mediumship, even though I'm not a medium. Shout out to Sloan Bella, who is part of this somehow, because she channeled Kim Porter, Mr. Diddy's ex victim, truly, and predicted everything that's unfolding so beautifully. I will definitely be linking that in the description box below. This is information that you guys need to know, especially if you just found this because it's a celebrity gossipy type tea video. Stay for that, but really grow and evolve through the next part, because that's where it really is. Spirituality is where it's at, sis. And let me tell you, it's been cooking over here. Let us cook. Sloan Bella did her thing with that channeling from Kim Porter, which predicted everything that's happening. If you don't know, you need to know. Sometimes growth is slow. Sloan Bella has had her moments, but when I tell you the virility, because she's really in the know, she's really channeling properly. Now, back to this. This song is so layered, and I felt like, I'm going to go see if she has any channelings from Biggie, but the song Angels was literally Biggie, I can't even speak, is literally Biggie speaking to Diddy from the grave before the grave. You cannot tell me that we are not a created consciousness, a sentient consciousness. We are so intuitive. If you are new here and that whole left brain thing is new to you, okay. If it's all right brain for you, I'm telling you, but you still intuit. You still think, you still perceive, you still feel. And Biggie knew that something wasn't right and that Diddy's love and loyalty wasn't real. And he says it in the song. And it's so good. In the beginning, his voice booming and just so heavy comes through, and he says something which just rocketed through me. Ain't no shook hands in Brooklyn, which is a nod and indicative to the fact that people where he came from, he's speaking regionally about his borough, but were grimy as it was perceived, right? Or that he's dealt with grimy people, that there's no honest deal that can be made. Ain't no shook hands in Brooklyn. This is why they say Biggie, amongst others, is one of the greatest of all times, because the wordplay, man, which just tickles my Gemini rising mind so much. It's so good. Ain't no shook hands in Brooklyn. And he essentially says anyone could be the enemy. Look, man, my friends want to see me shot up, caught up. Listen to Biggie catch Diddy up in the current day. It's so good. It's Macbethian, it's Shakespearean, it's a play, it's a movie, it's 5-year foreign, it's outside in the city. I don't think you guys realize how metaphysically gritty this was for Biggie to say. He literally predicted, want to see me shot up, caught up, with my mom crying, screaming over the casket, screaming bastard. He's like, I should have never trusted him, should have killed him. It's a whole situation. But he is talking to us from the beyond before the beyond. He's talking about Diddy's alleged accusations that are turning out so far not to be wrong. He is talking about the kind of diabolical plotting and scheming that does go on, but it goes on when you're dealing with Scorpionic energy that chooses not to evolve and chooses to stay, do, live, relish, and become the king of wrong. Diddy is known for his debauchery. That's how prolonged this has been. Now, I took a look at his chart and his synastry, and he had some interesting aspects that are also kicking in, which had to do with drug addiction, fueling his levels of insanity, because he was a sentient being that did at one point know right and wrong, but he chose his demonic energy vibration because he felt strong. And Scorpio is the sign that is associated with power, but not just all power and not just personal power, but other people's power. Scorpio is the sign of power plays. There was a time, many times, in Drake and Diddy's lifetime where they did interface. But amongst the most storied and talked about is a moment where Diddy was upset about a song that Drake was deciding to put out that Diddy had slept on for 6 months, but Diddy's used to having everything go his way, a spoiled brat to his core to this day, and so he was mad that Drake decided that he was going to actually give it some airplay, and he confronted him in a club, and things went this way. Diddy slapped Drake, and then something else happened, and there's a lot of things that happen with Drake and bodily fluids, and it's weird. It gets weird over there, but that's okay. Now, what I will say here is this. Diddy and Drake, other people's power, literally had a face-off over whatever power shifts were happening. Diddy and Drake both rule other people's power, and that's why they could lean into the deepest parts of corruption, because Scorpionic energy in its underbelly and in its lowest vibration is about the taboo, is about pushing it as far as you can go, is about seeing who is watching you and daring them to try you. It's mafioso energy. It's the best sniper energy. It is the long game, the long plan, the chess moves. It is 5 of Wands. If you read tarot, it's the 5 of Swords. It's the 7 of Swords. It's the Tower. It's 7 of Cups. It's Scorpionic. It keeps you stuck. And it can slow down progress. But there can be this bloodlust and bloodthirst if it's not corrected, and if other aspects aren't introduced, or if you're not working on actively balancing you. That's not all Scorpios. On the other side, it's loyalty. It's devotion for family. It's deep interest in spirituality. We both have duality. We all have duality. But with Scorpionic energy corrupted, unfettered, absolute power will always corrupt. Absolutely. And that's where we run into Drake and Diddy. These are 2 men, both from the different months, representing different decans of the Scorpionic sun sign, but they still have similar traits. Drake once rapped that he was light-skinned, but he was still a dark ninja. You fill in the blank. We don't. He was light-skinned, but he was still a dark ninja, which is very much giving moody Scorpionic energy. That is exactly what a Scorpio would say. And the reason really that so many of us became enamored and fell in love with Drake is because he was a person that would say the things that we all wanted to say. He channeled so effortlessly, almost psychically, because Scorpionic energy is incredibly psychic. Hence why Diddy can read your mind to know exactly what to get you with, because he understands people intuitively, not just what he can see. But back to Drake. Drake, 100%. It just, you're gonna have me shift. We have to stay on point. Drake had what was I saying? Energy. We're talking about Drake, energy, enemies. All right, it's gonna come back to me. I'm gonna go back to Diddy real quick. So back to Biggie and Diddy. I will pop back there when they bring me back to what was going on with Drake. Okay. So Biggie is talking about what's happening with him losing his life, essentially, at the hands of this person that is very hungry for power and is willing to sell him down the road. It's like Biggie had an overview. He was like watching his mom at his funeral. It's exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened. When you're dealing with Scorpionic energy, when it goes unchecked like this, what can happen is it can lead you to, I don't know, say emperor status, tyrannical status. You're beyond emperor. You're beyond that. It's tyrannical. And that's exactly where Diddy is at. Because none of the things went unchecked. And what I actually see him as when I was channeling through it was our version of Caligula. So if you guys are familiar with Caligula, it's YouTube, so I don't know how much I can even get into it. I might connect like a little historical short or something about Caligula. I'll just leave it alone. That's demonetization station if you want it. Anyway, Caligula did the most. And he was very, let's say, sexually deviant, to say the very, very least of the least, okay? And he was gluttonous for power. And he just very much reminds me of Diddy. That's what I was just channeling right there. He reminds me of Diddy and how Diddy will devour every piece of innocence that is laid out before him in any way. Meaning Diddy lived to corrupt people because he was literally getting to be the emperor. He got to be Caligula. He got to have things just not only his way, but he got to do things that were what happens when you get too much power. Murderous things, allegedly, blowing up people's cars. He blew up Kid Cudi's car. So you're dealing with this energy. And in the Angel song, we're dealing with the fact that justice is coming, hence the quote that the Angels channeled by Martin Luther King at the beginning about the arc of justice. It's finally bending. It seemed like it was going to never happen. It seemed like these guys, to whatever degree, were going unchecked. Now, Diddy and Drake are not the same in any respect regarding, I imagine, their crimes allegedly, because we don't know what's really going on with Drake. But we do know what's going on with Diddy because he's sitting in a jail right now somewhere in the city. So we know that about Diddy. Now, the thing about it is as Biggie is speaking, there are other things happening there too. And there is this call and response where Diddy's having a conversation with his higher consciousness. See if you can catch it when you listen. He is saying, essentially, I could hear the angels call. They were warnings. After all, I do love you. He's speaking to his higher self. He's speaking to his lower self. He's speaking to Biggie from beyond the grave. He knew that the angels' call wasn't just about him falling into the best season of his life where he was an emperor and lived like a wealthy king. It was about what kind of depravity the proximity to that type of wealth would bring. And for Diddy, it was the downfall and public beheading of the king, which is, to the point of this video, in fact, the most Scorpionic thing, as Scorpio rules death, transformation, and rebirth. Diddy is in his final form, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, and soon he will be returned to the earth, because that moral arc bent and justice will have the final say. And Diddy, in this season of whatever Netflix show the Cosmos are watching, he doesn't get to live to see another day. And that's not just conjecture. That's according to his chart, allegedly. This is all for entertainment purposes, allegedly. Diddy has some aspects in his chart that subject him to potential attacks physically. So it could be Mepstein. I can't say the name because YouTube will certainly shadow ban that. Very much how the guy, did whatever, allegedly, but how? Something like that. Or it could be a direct hit from someone who gets to him, if someone allows it. Guys, when I looked at his chart, now I'm not a professional astrologer as of yet, okay? I'll announce if that's added. But I'm going to tell you, I have a hobby in it. And I do study and do read and can read and do work with some of my clients with some of their charts. But I do have my astrologer that I go to. What I'm saying, though, is there's some aspects in his chart that are under Saturn. For those of you guys that are metaphysical, you guys are understanding what I'm saying. He has some Saturnian aspects here. Capricorn and Saturn, this is why he was able to achieve. He has a Capricorn moon or something, in a Capricorn moon. And it makes so much sense as to why he was able to achieve the levels of wealth that he was. But he has some aspects in Saturn, which that Capricorn moon is ruled by Saturn, Capricorn, or they are affiliated. What I'm saying is that it makes perfect sense to me that the way he treated people and what really motivated why he did this is what he's going to be held the most accountable for. Like, the very thing that made him more is the very thing that Saturn's judging him on. It's like, you were wrong. Because Capricorn is very renowned for, like, upstanding by the book the long way. And Diddy took every shortcut he could, because that's the Scorpionic way. Death, rebirth, and transformation. Back to that. To be Scorpionic, or to suffer a Scorpionic attack, is to know that death is on your back. That something will end. And it's inevitable. When I've ever counseled clients that are working with that dynamic of the third party, and it's a karmic that's a Scorpio, I'm like, well, the relationship is over. Even if you want to fix it in your man takes it to your man. When a Scorpio enters a building, even if they're not the last best man standing, they're the one that will end things. Something about their energy, almost when in a lower vibration, infects and ends, it poisons and kills. But that's what they are designed to do. That's them inhabiting their truth in whatever way. But there is a light and a dark way. And with Diddy and Drake, we have seen the dark way. With Diddy specifically, the darkest levels of depravity. And actually, I feel like the apple doesn't fall too far from the Scorpionic tree, as Drake has been allegedly included in some insane, or accused of some insane debauchery. But the thing that's caught my attention is an attempted or actually carried out execution and ending of one XXX extension, or however you say his name. And Drake raps about it. To turn a 20 to a 10, turn a 10, 10 again. And anyway, it's the Roman numeral for, whatever, for 10. And he talks about if he had kept his mouth closed, he'd still be alive again. And he was affiliated with some of the shooters financially. The case has just recently been reopened, with hoping that they can admit, now that Drake was under the very Aquarian karmic retribution end of his life cycle last year, that was dredged up, where he got away with it years ago. But that's what happens when we're in an Aquarian year of karma, an 8-year. That's what happens. And so there is no getting away. He couldn't get away. So now it's been reopened, and now a new judge may have something else to say. But what people are actively and openly accusing of him is allegedly putting out an alleged hit on XXX. There is a lot of lore and a lot of conversation, but now it's legalese. And now it's in a reopening, because that happened because he was out of order. What karma does is, it's not just about sending it to the people that hurt you to hurt their feelings back. Karma allows you to feel exactly what was felt when it was a flip in reverse and you were where the other person was at. So if someone does something to you maliciously, they will account for, or they will feel fully the embodiment of it. For all the people that felt trapped by Diddy, Diddy now is in cage. For all the people that felt lied to, Diddy feels like he's being gaslit by the system because things aren't going his way. There is always a retribution that puts you exactly in the same place, so that you can feel into whatever you caused that was destruction and disgrace, and either atone for it and move forward, so you never treat someone the same way. But because of the aspects in Diddy's chart, I'm going to see if I can connect one of the astrologers that did a fantastic breakdown of it, that talks more about some of the specific aspects that deal with his chart, and why she is also concerned about some of the stuff that I saw in the chart too, regarding attacks and whatever, because of where his Rahu is. And it's a lot, guys, but if you're not into that, just listen to the talk if you want to. Diddy will have to deal with physicality, but it's because he was abusive to whatever degree, and the angels and the ancestors and the karmic council said, it's above you, Diddy. You are not going to get to hear from, 12 unbiased jurors in your city. You did not run people through anything fairly. So now nothing shall be fairly run through you, except for what we in the cosmos do. We have the final say over what happens to you. But the way his astrology chart's lined up, the way that's looking, sis, is that Diddy's going to pay a heavy karmic price for this, and it will be public, because that's how he wanted to live. Now I'm tapping back into that Caligula. There was a price to pay for that level of debauchery, to whatever degree. And yes, you may go down in history, but it may be really in infamy. All right, so that's Diddy. Now on to Drake. Got some enemies, got a lot of enemies, got a lot of people trying to drain me of this energy. Drake, Aubrey Graham, found himself at the end of the worst karmic plan. He doesn't have Geico. He doesn't have Allstate. I don't know what's going on. All Drake has is maybe a plan to try to save face, but he really can't, because his hunger and lust for power in the very Scorpionic way is his detriment in every way. The bravado, the ego, that death. Ironically, while Scorpio energy for both Diddy and Drake causes death for all Scorpio energies, it wants you to reevaluate, it wants you to regenerate, it wants you to regrow. That's something these two don't want to do, because it means that they would feel like they were dethroned, and that's something they just don't want to do. So they will not introspect, and that is to Drake's greatest detriment, because what I was saying is that we like Drake. When I lost my Drake train of thought, that was singing to us like Marvin's Room. I'm just saying you could do better. Every one of us can relate to that energy, but also he was conveying emotions that we could relate to. Actually, it wasn't not just that it was so high and lofty. We also love the braggadocious Drake, but there was something about his empathic energy, and that was Drake in a high vibration of Scorpionic energy. He was using his psychic gifting, his ability to communicate, and ability to deeply feel emotion, being a water sign, fixed water sign too, and that's why he holds these grudges the way he likes to do, because Scorpio is going to hold a grudge for you. So that's why I see these celebrities show up on the main stage, to show us what these sun signs really look like when they're at play in their worst or best behavior. On my best behavior, on my worst behavior. Worst behavior, that was Drake. So what happened with Drake is that he's so involved in his ego and playing all these big games of chess because he really doesn't have anyone protecting his neck, but that's because Drake never protected anyone's neck. The big accusation against Drake is that he is really lacking culture, connection, or community. And he could have greatly benefited from all of those things. But he was always playing strategically, and he was doing what Scorpio in its lowest vibration loves to do, which is really pushing the limits for Drake, his sexuality and addiction. That's where Scorpio really has him in a chokehold. Scorpionic energy does rule addiction, obsession, focus, high manipulation. It also rules our sexual organs. People think that all Scorpios are good in bed. That's a misnomer. It rules our sexual organs. But there is a sexiness to someone who is capable of deep intimacy with you. And a Scorpio naturally understands intimacy. But the thing that makes sex with Scorpios great, even if they're not proficient technically, is if they're into you and they really like you, and even if they don't like you and they just want to get into you, they have a way of blending intimacy with all-consuming passion, obsession, and depravity. Because Scorpionic energy, 8th house Scorpionic energy, also rules the taboo. So this is where you're finding crazy behavior or culty behavior or weird fetishes. I mean, I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum, but they are the ones that will get it done, and they will get it done, and it will be dirty. Which taps into a primal part that is all factually part of our reality that each human has. And if it's with a consensual partner and all the rest, great. But with Scorpionic energy, even if they're not interested in really being with you, they are determined and obsessed with accessing you to that capacity sexually, or using their sexuality as a power play, which brings us back to Drake. For Diddy, he was debaucherous with his sexuality, and it was also the mindfuck with Diddy. That was his, specialty. Drake is a mindfucker too, but Drake was mindfucking the men in the industry. Message. A lot of people have talked about it, but I don't know if I've heard it like that. Not a hot take at all. Drake made it a purpose to go after other people's women, ladies, whatever, whomever they were dating, being with wives. He would sleep with them all. We've heard Kanye openly talk about this often, his deepest fear, because Drake has allegedly dealt with Kim. In fact, if you listen to Travis Scott's song, oh gosh, I can't think of it. Anyway, it's the one where him and Drake are on it, and he's like, crept down the block, made a right. Drake in that song is essentially given directions to go to Kim's house from where his house was in whatever area they lived in. That's a little hip-hop lore for you. But the point is, Kanye was terrified of Drake sleeping with Kim. And with anybody. I'm going to see if I can find the rant. It's so funny because he's like, Drake is dropping dick off to everybody's female. Drake uses his penis as a weapon. Literally. Allegedly. Oh God. Allegedly. Meaning his, what should I say? Figuratively speaking, Drake uses his penis as a weapon. Figuratively speaking, Drake uses that as a weapon. And what I mean by that is that he would point it in the direction of someone else's person just to mess with their head, because Drake enjoys power. Drake enjoys power, and that is a huge thing for Scorpios. So, and he's a bit of a D-bag about it. He enjoys power in a way where it's not like, oh, I'm going to be a good human and do the best I can with this. Like, President Jimmy Carter just passed recently at 100 years old. God bless his soul. God rest the dead. But he was a good man who had access to absolute power, being one of the highest, political officials in the world at one time. But he was always known for being just a good salt of the earth, good man, which is evident in his very long life, where he was beating cancer just last year. Like, he's amazing. My point is that you can have power and be Jimmy Carter, And then you can have access to power and be Drake and Diddy. And with their Scorpionic placements, Drake and Diddy could only ever be. Drake and Diddy with that kind of access to power, money, and other people's energy, which they love to manipulate. Got enemies, got a lot of enemies, got a lot of people trying to drain me of this energy. In this phrasing, Drake poses himself as the victim. Got a lot of people trying to drain me of this energy. That sounds like what an Earth Angel would say to me, because that's something that Earth Angels really encounter, is people trying to drain us of our energy. But Drake poses himself as the victim whilst being the villain. And that's another thing, Earth Angels. In a lot of people's story, we will be the villain. And Drake sees himself as that. When he said, I'm light-skinned, but I'm still a dark ninja, I thought that's interesting. But there's another song where he says, I used to be angel, now they turn me demon. He's talking about the things that he's been through. I posit to you, do any of you guys think that Drake identifies as an Earth Angel? Do you think he thinks he's an Earth Angel that was turned evil by rejection and slander and things of that nature? Or do you think that he's masquerading and hasn't integrated his egoic self with his actual self and likes to see himself as this kind of innocent character, not admitting the wrongdoing? And I'm going to give you the answer. It's a rhetorical yes, and put it below what you think, and if you disagree, I'd love to hear that discourse too. But I'm going to tell you what is the truth, because not I said it, but Aquarian energy of karma said it in 2024. The truth is, Drake, humility does not become you. The piss you do take, the advantage you will take, and you are not good to people, allegedly. That's what Aquarius energy did say, anyway, not me. You're not good to people, because now you're being held accountable, not only publicly, but emotionally. When Kendrick Lamar rapped to Drake, I suggest some ayahuasca to strip the bottom out of you, we all recoiled. Listening to Meet the Grams felt like you were watching a scary movie. It felt like Jigsaw popped up and said, do you want to play a game? And grown men were shuddering and pulling their hoodies down because they couldn't believe what they heard coming out, which was an excoriation on a metaphysical and spiritual level. That's why I was like all ears. As a fan of hip hop, but also a metaphysical girly, I said, both things are here. It was the movie. It was the moment. It was the moment of the year for 2024. Kendrick taking Drake and dismantling him piece by piece was the moment of the year. So what does that make us? Are we in the gladiator stands? Are we entertained? To a certain degree. That's just how we work, and that's just our brains as humans, right? We don't mind seeing a good fight. But why did it feel so satisfactory when we watched the firelight on the pile they set Drake on top of? We did that because something in our soul said, what did he get away with? What is it that we haven't been able to quite put our fingers on with Drake, sis? And so many of us in the collective felt it. Not just the collective, but netizens at large. Whether they're spiritual or not. They're like, man, why do I want to dance on Drake's grave, figuratively and musically, every time Kendrick says they're not like us and he's not like me? It's because something about Drake's energy got a lot of energy. He made a lot of enemies that now in turn want back their energy. That's the flip in the reverse. That's the remix. That's the chopped and screwed verse that Drake doesn't want to deal with. And in a Scorpionic energy where absolute power has corrupted already, absolutely, he can't even fathom that he might have to take a knee. Take a knee? For who? It's me. But we are inundated and oversaturated. Drake has to shift timelines and graduate from this one into a new reality, because in this one, a karmic takedown that he has earned, line by line, precept by precept, lie by lie, bad bet by bad bet, crushed heart by crushed heart. And I'm not talking just about the women. I'm talking about the men who are in shambles and falling apart. And he delighted in that because he was trying to fill some hole that was never in him. And in a Scorpionic placement where he hasn't done his emotional spiritual work, he just thought it was owed to him. Other people's souls were owed to him. Not just a jar of hearts, but miscellaneous parts. He took what he wanted, allegedly, figuratively, metaphorically. And he thought no one would see, because Scorpio energy relishes their dark and dank privacy. And that's both good and bad, depending on where you're at. But if we're talking about Drake and Diddy, they were in the lower levels of Dante's Inferno and Hellas City. They were giving away trauma for free. So when Drake raps about his enemies, he made those enemies. Hence why Metro and Future made the album We Still Don't Trust You. This is why everyone swarmed in like the Avengers to take their lick back, because Drake had taken a bite out of them at one point and they'd just been waiting to see where he was at. And then people did dogpile. It is the nature of the beast. It is our human reality. Everyone joined in to see, and that's what he takes umbrage with, because he thought no one really loved me. But that's another Scorpionic trait to learn about, that level of betrayal and duplicity, because when a Scorpio is burned, those grudges are long, and they'll get back whenever they can. It doesn't matter if they're 70. And Drake, in order to fulfill his Scorpionic destiny, had to feel all parts of what that will be. In the Wheel of Fortune, when you're reading tarot, we all love to see it coming, and sometimes we hate to see it go. But sometimes you're being crushed under the wheel, or you're ascending into a North Node. Drake and Diddy both lived first half in North Node. Diddy specifically. Now the second half is under the wheel, crushed in a South Node reality, which is about paying back karma and elevating to be a better human if that's what they choose to be. I'm already going to tell you with Diddy, he's not opting into that energy. Diddy's going to go out in a bang with flames and the whole thing, because it's an example to all of us that are watching, like the folks in the cosmos, of what happens. This is how it goes when you are that level of debaucherous. Your flesh will be picked apart by crows. I just heard Macbeth. For whatever that means, for whoever that means. Diddy heard the angels' call. He knew that they were warnings after all, but he still treated it obscene. He still did obscene things. He still killed dreams. He still stole money from many artists, time and talent. And whilst he had his own talent, whatever that was, to acquire power and success to whatever degree, Diddy could have made other choices that would have altered his destiny. But he's going out in flames because he embodied Scorpionic energy through and through. Every taboo, all of the most depraved things he could do, things we'll never even hear about, things we'll never know. And from beyond the grave, Kim Porter, Kim Sloan Bella, she came in to say, I've seen you, and I'm going to start the ball rolling. She pulled the thread that began this. I'll connect it below. You guys need to check it out and hear how she comes through, predicting down to the date when Cassie filed the lawsuit that got the ball rolling. But it was predicted by Kim from beyond. Y'all, pay attention to your intuition. That's really the lesson all along with these Scorpionic energies. These two men that showed up, incarnated to be celebrities, to help us see things from a different perspective, so that we can shift our own realities. Scorpionic energy can empower you. You can have this. Ruling other people's money and taxes, but there's something that will be paid and owe. That's why they have me channel the taxes. There was something that you will have to pay and something you will have to owe in order to get the deeper psychic, intuitive realms of Scorpion energy is available to know. There's a price to pay in order to have access granted to the Scorpionic way. And if you want to get it on the front end, as maybe a bet like Drake might do, then you need to know this one inalienable truth. Karma is going to be coming for you. You will have to pay that back. That's the biggest takeaway from this Scorpionic lesson with these two archetypes, is that you will have to be the one who pays. And it will usually be in the middle of the night. It'll be quiet, it'll be scary, and it will make you look at yourself fully, because that's the other part of Scorpio, is we want you to know the darkest, dankest, most depraved it can be, so that you can know the other side, which is this enlightened, lofty, loyal, deep spirituality and psychic energy. But that's what we both contain, or that's what we all contain, is that duality. And the mission for both Diddy and Drake right now is to integrate their shadow, to kind of start to pay back what they owe, but also to finish their job here on this karmic school. And when people exit, sometimes choices are made. And what I mean by that is they may know that they are not going to change. And with the aspects that showed up for Diddy, not for Drake, I did not look at his astrology chart like I did Diddy's, but for Diddy, it looks to me like Diddy just might not stay. And in its own quiet way, even with that choice and how it plays out, I think it would be very fair to opine that justice, no matter how long or how much time it took, will be accounting for every opportunity that never took root, because Diddy put his hands and his energy into creating chaos and crazy. An ending for him is justice. Just maybe. Guys, that's what the angels have for you. I did not know it was going there. The angels were calling, they said. Man, in the end, the last part, they said it's a funeral, friend. Because that's what comes when you play with Scorpionic energy without respect. Without respect, respectfully. Towards the end of the angels, there's Middle Eastern music influences. It sounds like a call to prayer. It felt like all of Islam was there. A call to bend a knee to Allah, to know. What am I channeling? It's a word. Hadaram. Hadaram, Hadaram, Hadaram. I'm hearing that. I'm hearing elders. I really feel like Diddy, I'm just getting a channeling right now, guys. I feel like Diddy is sitting on the council of elders in the cosmos. And I don't know why, but I just saw this Islamic energy step forward. And they just said, Haram. Haram, Haram, which means like bad against, I don't even know what it means. It's truly a channeling for my angels. Haram, bad, against, debaucherous, not clean, not right, something of that nature. Guys, comment below if you know exactly what haram means. I just heard that. I literally just saw him. He has a turban and it's wrapped, and it's like glowing, glowing, glowing white with this thick, thick, thick gold rope, and he said haram. Thick, 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 dark beard. Haram. Diddy's going down, y'all. Come back to this video when it happens. I'm not trying to be excited, but look, the download I just got is almost like they said they have to absorb his soul in order to pay back. It's like a, what are they showing me? They're showing me like, it's like a movie, and it's like, if, what is it? If he swallowed, it's like, what are they showing me? The Kraken. They're showing me something in an ocean, an octopus, like spider race energy, octopus energy. It's like, imagine this beast opens its mouth, Diddy goes inside of it, and then like explodes into a million pieces, and those million pieces are like little pieces of people's souls, like leaving, like he's eaten so many souls as a download. That is so weird, y'all. That just came over me. He's eaten so many souls, and they said consumption. Oh my god, it's total consumption. They're showing me a mushroom bag. You know, you can be buried in mushroom bags, so you grow mushrooms, like Luke Perry did that when he passed away. They're saying Diddy has to be consumed back. They're showing me Life of Pi, the island that eats itself. That's cannibalistic. They said Diddy... I'm gonna stop. Metaphorically speaking, angels, y'all know I'm recording right now. Metaphorically speaking, Diddy's consumed souls. Metaphorically speaking, Diddy's consumed souls. And they said the only way to right this wrong is consumption. That's it. I'm done. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me. Come back and join me next time, and we'll continue to evolve together.